Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a paid advertising. TheOnlyGround.com, onlyground.com is one of the most amazing places for information that I consistently go to. If you guys want to have conversations about our old interviews or even topics that we don't discuss, the group of people that are on the onlyground.com message boards are some of the most brilliant that I have ever come across. Those little like knickknack facts that we get here and there, that's where a lot of it comes from. Please check out the link in the bio.
Welcome to the Lights Out Podcast. This is Chris Lights Out Lytle, and this is our journey to document the history of mixed martial arts. I have brought with me my friend, the MMA detective Mike Davis, and together we will preserve the history and hear some great stories from the world in the era of the no holds barred. Thank you and enjoy.
Welcome back to the Lights Out MMA History Podcast. I'm Joey Venti. I'm with Mike Davis. He's the MMA detective. I'm Herb Dean's dog sitter, and we have a special episode for you today. Our guest today is a 15-fight veteran in the UFC, a world-ranked lightweight contender, and the scariest realtor in New Jersey. Welcome to the show, Raging Al Iaquinta. Thanks for being here.
Long Island, New York.
Did I get that wrong? Am I thinking of Frankie Edgar? Damn it, I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. That happens. It happens. Long Island, born and raised. That's where my business is, where my people are, where the houses are bought and sold. And I really appreciate you guys having me on. This is incredible.
I watched too much Sopranos. That's my bad.
There you go.
So, Al, all right, I don't know how to really kind of like address this other than just kind of being very direct. So when people begin their mixed martial arts career, oftentimes the waters are a little rough. The money isn't there. The promoters might not be the best. And then at some point when you get to certain levels, things kind of level off. And then like you experience what it's like to be with a professional organization. At every step of your career, both inside and outside the ring, it seemed like you were always fighting.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you get to a certain level, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, there is a certain level, but it's very, very hard to hit that level.
Can I give a couple examples kind of so you can understand where I'm going from?
Yeah.
USADA and Reebok come along. They send you UFC sends you a contract. You sign a contract, and they send you another contract with, we got Reebok now, we got USADA. And your response is, I think those are things that we should negotiate. Like, whatever it was that was in this last contract that I sent over, you added some stuff, so it'd be nice to be compensated for it. Like, you were always battling.
I guess. I mean, it's definitely a tough industry. The industry is tough. The art is beautiful. Fighting is amazing. Fighting is the best. That's the only reason I did it. The rest of it I could have left and never had to deal with. Like, fighting is it's like the fighters are what should be
highlighted,
held to the highest standard, not the brass. I mean, look, they did a great job building this thing, but I just feel for the fighters so much when guys make it to the UFC and they're so happy to be in the UFC, and it's like, bro, you're happy now, but just like, you got to be a champion. You really do have to be. If you're not a champion in the UFC, and even the champions, like, it's the art of the martial arts, the fighting, the fighters. That's the best part about the whole thing. The rest of it, I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. That's for sure.
Let me help explain why. 2015, the Fighter Summit. You pretty much tell them, I can't go. I'm not feeling well. But then you intentionally post pictures from the beach. Your social media.
Was that what happened? Oh yeah, that is. No, you know what? That's another thing. I had a staph infection. That's crazy. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. I had a staph infection and I'm I think I was training for a fight at the time. So they wanted me to go out to Vegas for a fighters summit, like a kumbaya with the fight. Like, why? I don't know. What is this? You know what I mean? Like, what is the point of that? I don't understand what the point of that is when I'm fighting in a couple weeks or months, whatever it was. And I had a staph infection. I told them that I had a staph infection. What, I can't go to the beach? I'm an independent contractor. What, are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna tell me what I can and can't do. If I want to go to this summit, I will. If I want to go to the beach, I will. I'm not, you know what I mean? You're not, you know, they treat, yeah, that was crazy.
Joey, we're not done with this. So, Joey, they respond to Al and they say, well, the next 3 fights, you're not getting any bonuses.
Bullshit.
Al pretty much says, I bet you do if I earn my bonus. They say no. Al's opponent gets a bonus. He doesn't. Did you?
Bullshit.
How bad did you trash the hotel room?
Not as bad as
You should have.
not as bad as it looked. You know, it was funny. I might have thrown like a couple things. It wasn't that bad, but I had videos of like, I mean, I I had old videos of hotel. This has been a thing in my
reoccurring
theme in your life.
I had old videos. I had old videos from when I was way younger and way crazier. But I was still crazy then too, but and I posted all the videos at once. Like I was doing this like I was on a rampage, you know. So it definitely it definitely
Oh yeah. You got him on the phone.
Got their attention. Yeah. Yeah. No, I wasn't too happy. I beat Joe Lazzone at that, you know what I mean? The bonus king at that time. I beat the bonus king and you don't give me a bonus. Like, I'm like, this is crazy, you know? Crazy.
What was the conversation like after that social media post? Like, how soon after did they call you?
Well, Ray Longo and Matt Serra called me.
Like an intervention. Okay.
They were like, they thought I was like hammered and couldn't like, they called me. I go, hey, what's up? What's up, guys? They're like, what are you doing? I go, just hanging out in the hotel room. They go, come downstairs right now. So Dana, or I think Dana and Hunter and Reed Harris had called them and was like, this kid's out of control. What's going on? And I was like, they thought I was going to answer the phone. Right. You know, they thought I was like on a bender or something. They thought I was going to be going nuts. And I was like, what's up, guys? How you doing? And they're like, what are you doing? I go, nothing, just hanging out.
Yeah, watching ESPN.
Yeah.
What's up?
There was no damage to the hotel room at all. It was all
show.
I mean, show, but I don't think there's any fighter that's like not attacked, but like harassed the UFC as much as I did.
Dude.
Like if you ask Sean Shelby about, I would call it. There's some voicemails I left him, and Reed Harris too. But we laugh about it now. I was just young and crazy, but like they thought I was 10 times crazier than I was. I would just kind of like egg them on and do stuff like that just to kind of get a rise out of them, because that's the only thing I could do. There was nothing else, like, you know what I mean? I couldn't, like, there was no negotiating with them. There was no anything. So I just and it did work out in my favor in a few instances. A couple negotiating things. They were like, oh, let's just give him what he wants because he's crazy. He'll he will pull out of this fight unless we
agree with that.
What he wants. And they did give me what I want. So it's it worked against me in a lot of ways. I'm sure I would have maybe, if I would have like played the game and been a company guy, I would have got bonuses, I'm sure. But that's not too fun. It's not the way I'm not like that. It's not fun to me, So
I get it. Also, it made them pause. Like, if we're gonna screw somebody, let's not do it to this guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I guess, it all really started I was injured. I got injured, and then they didn't want to pay for the surgery that I wanted to have. I had just beaten Masvidal. I had beaten Masvidal. I think it was like the first. It was the first. I was supposed to fight Thiago Alves at MSG, I think.
202 in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. And my knee was killing me, and I needed to have this surgery. So I kind of I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to fight anyway, so I might as well just go nuts. And if I never fight again, at least I don't know, I stood up for myself and stood up for the fighters kind of thing. And then when I wanted to have this surgery, they were like, the doctor from the UFC, Dr. Davidson, he said if I had this surgery that I'd probably never fight again. Andrew, you want to answer it? And
Was it ACL or what was it?
no, I tore articular cartilage behind my kneecap.
Mm.
So pretty rare injury. And the surgery that they had to do, they had to cut cartilage from behind my knee, basically like a knee replacement with cadaver cartilage behind my kneecap.
Benji Raddick had that. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, very rare surgery. Especially, it was the first time I think an MMA fighter had it. I don't know about what happened with Benji. I don't know when he had it.
Eventually, not only had it, but it was like a stolen cadaver. It was like it made the news. It was like, yeah, it was like trafficked body parts. It was weird. That's the only reason I remember. So go ahead. That's him. We're talking about here.
I'm gonna look that up after. That's crazy. But so I went to Dr. Davidson, said I probably wouldn't fight again if I had this surgery. I went and I searched out the best doctors in the country. Believe his name was Bugsby, was in LA or so somewhere in California. And then Riley Williams was at Hospital for Special Surgery. I met with him and I had a good talk with him, and he does a lot. He has done this to a lot of NBA players. And he said, I feel very confident that if we do this surgery, you will fight again. And I went to the UFC and I said, hey, I went to Hospital for Special Surgery, and best hospital, top hospital around, best, on the East Coast by me for sure. And I would like to have the surgery with them. And Davidson kind of got in the UFC's ear and said, if this kid has this surgery, he's probably never going to fight again. And Hospital for Special Surgery, whatever that surgery costs, normally, let's just say for sake of numbers, $30,000, to have that surgery at a regular hospital. At Hospital for Special Surgery, it was $60,000. So they said, we're not going to pay the whole thing because at a normal hospital, it would be 30. We'll pay 30 and you make up the rest. That's what the UFC said to me. I have the email stuff. Send it to you. It's crazy. Like, could you imagine that? They're like, we'll pay. But I sought out the best hospital, the best doctor, the doctor that gave me the confidence that if I go under the needle, I'm going to end up fighting again. My career, like basically saving my career. Otherwise, my knee was shot. So the UFC said, we'll pay 30. And so they wanted me to pay $30,000, get the surgery. I would have been out for 6 months and wouldn't have been able to fight, wouldn't have been able to make any money, and have been down $30,000. I'm like, you can't do that. And in the process, I had introduced the UFC to Hospital for Special Surgery. And now the Hospital Special Surgery is a sponsor of the UFC. So I've been making deals since day one. Like, seriously, I made that deal happen. Like, it's crazy, right? Isn't that nuts? So it took like 6 months. I had to fly out to Vegas and meet with Lorenzo Fertitta. It might have been at one of the summits. I went there and I spoke with him, and he was like, oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. Yeah, let's get you the surgery and let's make this happen. Got the surgery, made it happen. And then I think the next fight I fought was Diego. And then after that was the Khabib fight.
So I've heard that from a lot of fighters, that they had a better dealing with Lorenzo as opposed to Dana. He was more diplomatic.
Yeah. Or anybody else. I heard once you get to
Lorenzo, yeah.
Once you get to Lorenzo, you're good. That's what everybody says.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that he definitely listened, and he was like, yeah, you think that's the way to go? We'll get you this surgery.
How was the conversation? Was it quick? Was it rushed? Were you intense or were you relaxed?
With Lorenzo?
Yeah.
No, I was almost like, I was not intense at all. I was
Okay.
very calm. I mean, he's a very powerful guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me to talk to him, I'm like, I had to like muster up the courage to like ask him for this. I don't want to ask for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like I kind of had to, you know what I mean? My knee was killing me. It was brutal. And all I wanted to do was fight. That's all I wanted to do at that point in my life. I was like, just like a pit bull, and just all I wanted to do was get in there and show everybody what I could do. So he was super understanding. Didn't really ask too many questions. He was just like, you feel, let's get this done. Let's get this for you. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Yeah.
Good for Lorenzo. He treated you like a person while the organization treated you like a number.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. All right. So you're obviously a student of the game. Hey, dude, wait, let's give a little credit to hooking this up. NickNickNick.com, another realtor such as yourself, really good friend. He's gotten us several guests. Pete Sell, he lined up for us recently. Super cool kid. Mario Sperry, the guy flies all over the country doing privates with everyone. He hooked us up. How do you and Nick know each other?
So I've known Nick. We did jujitsu at Sarah's for forever. He's a black belt under Matt Serra, and we were training one day, and I never knew what Nick did really. And then we were just talking after training one day. I was like, yeah, I'm getting my real estate license, blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh, you're interested in real estate? I go, yeah. He goes, I'm teaching a course at the Marriott in New York City. Like a couple days later, come down, check it out. I went down there. There's a room full of people, and he's up there speaking well and like captivating everybody's attention and motivating everybody. I was like, dude, I had no idea that it was like this. And he goes, yeah, this was like the feeder to the big program out in California, where like everybody, the big meeting in California, there was like 2,000 people in California. He was like, if you want to come, just grab a plane ticket and it's on me. I was like, Aljo, you want to come with me? And Aljo was down, and we went out to Irvine, I believe, California. And Nicky Knuckles got up there in front of like 2,000 people and was just like the whole place was going nuts from it. Incredible on the jiu-jitsu mat, incredible, mind for real estate and public speaking, and an inspiration to everybody. The A Game podcast, he has a great podcast.
Yeah.
He's just the man. He's just such a solid dude. It doesn't get much better than that guy.
So, a lot of like YouTube videos, podcasts, a lot of them, they're full of shit with their numbers. Like, you don't know they're full of shit, but you go to their Apple, go to their reviews, and look how many reviews that they have, because you can fake those for a little bit of time, but then the algorithm corrects it. Dude, that guy's fucking legit. I thought he was like one of those Arab Indian crypto scammers with like an Italian picture. And then I started communicating with him like, oh no, this guy's legit. I thought he was a fucking scammer.
No, he's the real deal, and he's humble.
Dude.
I you don't even know. Like I said, I known him for years before. I know him.
Even told you what he was. Yeah.
So and then just because I had the interest in real estate, he invited me, just like super humble, excited to show me like the way, and yeah, I've learned so much from him. It's incredible.
Cool. Let's start from the beginning. What was it that like what event or fight that you saw and you go, oh yeah, this is what I plan on doing?
I went to UFC 53 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Justin Eilers fought Andrei Arlovsky.
This is when they try to push Tim Sylvester out by putting Eilers coming in off a loss, thinking that he'd be able to pin Arlovsky down. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Um, Nick Diaz fought Koji Oishi. Evan Tanner, Rich Franklin,
Oh,
Matt Serra for Caro Parisian, crazy fight. Yeah, Paul Buentello fought. I forget who he. Just a crazy card, really good card back then. Forrest Griffin, that was his first fight. Bill Mahood, he fought
mhm.
his first fight after the Ultimate Fighter. He was like that was like there's such a good time in fighting. Like I remember seeing Forrest fought a little earlier in the night, and then afterwards we paid $200 for me and two of my friends. We paid $200, and we had pretty good seats. We were like right off the floor. Now those seats would be like I don't even know, depending on
Yeah,
$1,000
Yeah.
plus.
easy.
Um, and I just remember Forrest Griffin came out after beating Bill Mahood, and the place went nuts for him. You know, he was like just walking around down by
Yeah,
the cage, came and sat down
yeah,
there.
pounding on his chest. Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. And then I remember just watching Rich Franklin through a combination. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, this is crazy. See, he knocked Evan Tanner down, and the place just went nuts, erupted. Matt Serra was fighting Caro Parisian, and Parisian had him in an armbar. And Parisian breaks the arm and gets it like this. And Serra rolls out, does the hitchhiker escape, and gets out of the armbar. I knew what an armbar was, but I didn't really know exactly what, I was a high school wrestler, so I knew wrestling, but jujitsu, I had no idea. But I knew like that was a crazy move, like within centimeters of getting his arm broken.
yep,
He had the calmness and the awareness to maneuver himself and get out of that armbar. I was like, this is the crazy. And the place went nuts. He got out of the armbar and the place just went erupted. I like felt it in my chest. And I was like, wired. I go, I'm doing that. I go, there's not, I go, I need to know what if I didn't sleep for like a day or two. I was like, I need to know if it feels like that watching from the side, I need to know what it feels like to do it in there. And I was like, I'm just doing it once. I only want to do it once to know what it feels like. And you know how that went, but yeah.
How long between your wrestling career and you started like jujitsu MMA training?
Uh I I wrestled a year in community college, and during that time I was started boxing in the mornings for like an extra workout to keep my weight down.
Right.
And that uh I knew like that year wrestling that I was pretty much done. I just wanted to fight. When I saw that, I was like, I just want to do this, you know.
Yeah.
I had a couple guys on the wrestling team that had done jujitsu. So after wrestling practice, we'd like mess around with like some jujitsu moves, and I wonder, like looking back now, we probably would look so we had no idea what we were doing, but we were trying. We'd watch. They had the DVDs, the UFC DVDs, and in between, like Eddie Bravo would have like the move. He would show like a move on the DVD, and it was like the triangle choke, and it was like
Right.
we'd watch the DVD before. I guess it got to be like before YouTube and everything, right? Like
yeah.
you have to buy a UFC DVD, and there would be Eddie Bravo would show one move each like UFC, and it was like the armbar, and we'd watch the we'd try to do the armbar. It was
Huh.
like the craziest times, man. It was so wild.
So, what's the first gym you walk into to
It was
train for mixed martial arts?
for mixed martial arts was there was a Miletech affiliate gym on Long Island. Pat Miletech,
Yeah.
they opened up a gym here, and I had a friend. I was wrestling, and like the day wrestling season ended, my friend was like, "Come down to the gym," and I went down there, and I thought I was gonna kill everybody. I thought I was gonna just out wrestle everybody, and I took a guy down, and he choked me, and then we were just like messing around sparring, and someone kicked my leg, and I was like, it hurt. Kicked again, it hurt. I'm like, fuck this. I'm kicking him back. I kicked and I hurt my foot. I kicked his elbow. I was like, what the hell? I'm getting kicked. It hurts me. I'm kicking him. It hurts me. I was like very humbled. I was like, this is not as easy as I thought it was, but I had the wrestling background. So everything else I kind of like picked up quick. And that gym was just I was kind of like was maybe 3 amateur guys. I was one of 3 amateurs. So then once I had a bunch of amateur fights, I knew that Ray Longo and Matt Serra was where I'd have
You needed to go. Yeah.
to really, get to the UFC and do what I wanted to do.
So you were a junior college All-American wrestler. Did you know Aljo before you started training? Did you know him from the wrestling world?
Oh yeah, yeah,
And Bryce Mitchell as well, correct?
Well, no, Bryce. No, so Bryce is from Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas. But I got my notes that you guys all lived together at one point.
Well, so Aljo, he was from Uniondale. Like Aljo, I'm in Wantor, Weidman, Baldwin, Volantes, Levittown, MacArthur. Like we all knew each other. We all wrestled against each other coming up, like high school. We all knew each other, wrestled against each other, not against each other, but our teams.
You saw each other. Yeah.
Exactly.
You knew who each other were. Yeah.
We knew, we were all very aware, and then once we all got into fighting, we all kind of ended up at the same place. Aljo was up at Cortland. Bryce Mitchell was probably like 1-0 or 2-0 as a pro at the time. One of our guys was fighting in Memphis, Tennessee, and we were in the locker room with Bryce. And Bryce was fighting, maybe like the fight after our guy or before our guy. And you always say, we're like, oh, if you're ever in Long Island, come by the gym and, train with us or whatever. You could stay, stay whatever, stay with us. And it was like a week later, Bryce is like, hey, y'all, I'm coming out to Long Island. I'll see you next week.
We weren't serious. Wait, what?
I mean, at that time, we were all like, I had, it was my house that we all lived. It was like a bunch of fighters lived there. So yeah, it was cool. You know what I mean? But he's the one, like you say that to how many people, you're every locker room you go and you're like, oh, if you're ever in Long Island, come out training. And he took us up on it like that. Like a week later, he was like, I'm coming out. And he stayed for a week. He's a wild dude. That's for sure.
As we're recording this, Bryce Mitchell is currently going viral all across the world. So
I'm leaving that alone.
Okay, we'll leave it alone. He made a lot of press.
That alone. So your first fight, Rumble on the Railway, Greg LaChaga, it's June 10th, 2006. Was this your first fight, or did you have something that's unrecorded prior?
That was my first MMA fight. I had like smoker boxing fights and kickboxing fights, but MMA, that was my first one. It was illegal in New York at that time.
Yep.
You had to drive over the bridge to Rahway, New Jersey, and it was in a like a high. I don't know. It was like a rec center gymnasium, and I remember looking at the guy. I was like, his legs were huge. I was like, what the heck? And I was at that time, I was pretty much just like wrestling guys. I was like, gonna be hard to take that guy down. He just had like tremendous like legs. And like his hips, he was like just stocky. And then I remember grabbing his leg, and I was like, I couldn't believe how weak he was. Like he wasn't a wrestler, you know what I mean? So I had always trained with wrestlers, like strong wrestlers, and he didn't have any wrestling at all. Back then it was different. It was like, you could get away with just being a striker or just being a wrestler or a grappler. But yeah, I remember looking at him. He had a mohawk. He was like jacked. He was freaking like stocky. And I just remember like looking at his legs and being like, fuck, I'm not going to take that guy's going to be hard to take down, But then when I grabbed onto his leg, he went down like easy. And yeah, that was my debut as a fighter. Crazy.
You fought for Ed Hsu as well at Combat in the Cage right after. So your first one, June 10th, 2006, you want to do one. A month and a half later, August 19th, 2006, you're fighting for kind of a controversial promoter, Ed Hsu, Ed Hsu, I think is how you say it. Right?
Yeah. Ed Hsu, you did your research, man. Or do you know?
Come on, bro.
He's the MMA detective.
Wait, dude, he nailed it. He got it. Good job, Joe. Yeah, sorry. I'm the MMA detective, Hal.
You are the MMA detective, a controversial promoter. Yeah.
Also, wait, just for fair, like to be fair, since 1997, I've been going to live events, maybe like 25 a year. I've been to less than 10 UFCs. It's just I stay on the independent grind. So that's where a lot of my information comes from. So go ahead.
Yeah, Ed Hsu in the what was it? Clash in the Cage, Combat in the Cage,
Combat in the Cage, GHK Promotions.
GHK Promotions. Yeah, yeah. He'd have like 30 fights a night. It would be if the fight started at 6 p.m. It went until if you were at the end of the card, you're going until like 2 o'clock in the morning.
1 or 2 in the morning.
And then one time the ambulance had to like go take somebody away, and then it was like an hour and a half like break in the action. People were like, there was nobody in the audience by the end. It was the last fight of the night, like the main event, and everybody was. It was like maybe like 3 people: my mom, my dad, and two of my friends that stayed. Everybody else left. But
that's who you know that they love you. These people here at 2 a.m. Yeah, they've been here since like probably an hour before the doors open. Yeah, they got a full 8-hour shift sitting in a bleacher seat.
Crazy.
Did you have any issues with Ed?
Yeah, we jumped Ed.
What?
No, I'm kidding, kind of. No, Ed was I don't know. He was an interesting. I was just so young. I was like 18 years old at the time. I didn't even know, but he got us an amateur fight for money in Mexico. And my parents were like, I don't know. My parents, I wonder what they thought about me as their son going to fight somebody in Mexico at 18 years old with Ed Hsu. Like, and then he said he was going to pay us. And then he tried not paying us, but then we got the money from him.
So he did get jumped. I'm not saying you were involved, but what you've heard, because he's got beat up on more than one occasion by fighters.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't too, I guess. I was joking. We didn't really jump him. We kind of like pressed him a little bit. We never really like physically never did anything. But
so somebody talked and
not surprised.
You helped Ed listen while somebody else talked. Is that okay?
That's crazy. Yeah, he just kind of like vanished one day. I don't know.
Yeah, when you owe everybody money, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember he was like a big guy, and then like a week later, he was like this skinny guy, and his suit he still had the same suit. His suit was like hanging off of him. I was like, Ed, you all right? What's going on, man? He was like sweating. He was like, yeah, everything's good.
Oh.
I don't know. But yeah, no, he definitely was. He was definitely rubbing people, I guess, the wrong way. But he put on a lot of, at that point there was not much going on, and to get fighters going, and he put on some shows, and he got guys fighting. He had a pretty good. I don't know what happened in Mexico, but he brought a bunch of guys down there. It was like a pro amateur fight in Monterrey, Mexico, at the Arena de Monterrey.
You know who the promoter was? The guy that does the Spanish commentary for the UFC.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, he's the promoter for that event. Yeah, go ahead.
I wonder if he has video of that.
It's Master Vic. He 100% has video of it. And Master Vic, I'm going to tell you this right now. Master Vic might be a good guy right now. But at one point he was having some issues with addiction. Okay. And sometimes when people kind of go down that road at that point, they're not the best of human beings. You're talking about a period where he was struggling.
I would love to see the video, because I fought that night. I don't know whether it was a Mexican or whether it was he was like a Mexican American, but it was kind of like USA versus Mexico, kind of, I think, from what I remember.
I think I got it pinned down. It's either David Elias or Philip Ferrero. It's one of those two names.
No.
So that's not recorded then.
Those guys I fought in
United States. Okay.
I don't know if the record of that Mexico fight is anywhere.
It's definitely not.
Yeah. No, I couldn't tell you that guy's name, and I don't think you can find it anywhere. I don't know. I don't remember what the name of like the event was called. I don't remember. I just remember that place was packed. It was the Arena de Monterrey. I don't know how many people it fit, but it had to be like, 5, 6, 10,000 people. It was packed. It was like,
Did
like
they
it was like
did they
yeah.
throw stuff at the ring at the end?
I don't remember that. I
They
don't.
use I've been to 3 or 4 of his events, and usually at the main event, right after was when the crowd would just shower the cage. Yeah.
I remember they had like dancers in there, like these girls came in the ring in the cage, like in between the fights, and they were dancing. And it was like wild.
Yeah.
It
Uh,
was a crazy, crazy thing.
so from that East Coast, in my opinion, one of the early fight teams that really stood out and they were really deep was the Rhino fight team.
Oh yeah.
And that's Mike Prokop is your third fight. So like if you kind of look at your progression in just as many months, you've got 3 fights, Combat in the Cage, you're out of Thai Sport, which is the Miletech affiliate. And Mike Prokop's out of Rhino Fight Team. Rhino Fight Team was legit at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike was tough.
Yeah.
But again, pretty much a stand-up guy. He didn't really have, my wrestling at that point, I think for the amateur scene was pretty squared away. I was pretty much taking guys down and then mounting them and having my way with them that way. Yeah. Yeah, the wrestling definitely gave me time to learn the striking while I was kind of on the job. I was fighting, but I was still trying to get confident in my striking ability and my jujitsu and stuff. So I was taking guys down and controlling them pretty well, but I was a lot better than like I probably could have. I played it a little safe. I really wasn't too confident. It took me a while to get the confidence in the jujitsu and the striking to really start finishing guys and doing it, that kind of thing.
Well, if you kind of look at your progression, you also like you weren't afraid to travel. Like here you got David Elias, Philip Ferrero, Neil Mendez. Like you're rattling off wins on a road, new breed fighters. You beat Frank Clemens. But the first time I got to see you fight live was March 17, 2007 on the Ice show, the Kerry Shaw show, where you started this conversation about Rich Franklin and those guys were there. That was their event.
That was in Ohio.
Yes. Yeah, you traveled to Ohio. Mike Bennett was the guy that you fought.
Yeah, yeah. It was like was it March or something? It
It
was
was March 17, 2007. Yeah, this is so just so you know, right around this time, Victory J, who had a promotion out in Omaha, would write articles about some of the up and coming fighters and who to watch.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the first time people started reading about you was right after this event. Like this event put you on the map.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that was a wild fight. We
Yeah.
we drove to that event in a blizzard. We picked up these kids in Philadelphia on the way. They fought there too. Ed Hsu was driving behind the wheel. He was like this the whole time. In a snowstorm, blizzard. It was a 18-wheeler jackknifed off the road in front of us. And we stopped for a second. We were like, "You're all right." It was mayhem. Like the roads were just insane. And we made it to Ohio, and people were smoking in the fight in the thing. There was smoke. I don't think people liked me too much because I was from New York. They were booing me, and
Yeah.
he was the hometown guy, and he was tough. I remember, I was more of a slow starter. He definitely beat me up in like the beginning of the fight, and then I came back and won the second and third round. But
You got stronger, dude. Your cardio improved. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
wild, man. Wow, you're bringing back some crazy memories, man. That's crazy.
All right. So do you remember who hooked you up? Because you fight for Monty Cox right after. The ring announcer, Big Papa Schnocky.
Yes.
You guys communicate, and Big Papa Schnocky, he hooks you up with Monty Cox. I was Big Papa Schnocky's ride to and from that event dealing with the snow, too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Wild.
So what was it like fighting for Monty Cox? Extreme Challenge, March 31st, 2007. So, I mean, it's like 2 weeks later. So it's a last minute fight.
Well, that was
Wait a
uh
minute.
that was Ed Hsu had like hooked up with Monty Cox, I think at that
Did
Ohio
he?
at that Ohio event, and then Monty Cox was having Ed Hsu run like an East Coast chapter
Trials.
of
Mhm.
his the extreme exactly. Yeah. And then yeah, that's crazy. And yeah, no, I think that it was like a first round knockout. It was a quick one of them was. I forget which ones were extreme challenge and which ones were uh the clash combat in the cage. But I had a couple. That's when I started really getting confident in my hands. Knocked one of the guys out pretty quick. It was like 10 seconds or something. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you, like at that ice event, what people were saying is like everyone knew you were a good hammer and you were a good wrestler, but you lost that first round and you showed your durability. Like people were walking away behind the scenes going, man, he's good now. He's a good now. Like it surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So Ryan Kenvin, Combat in the Cage, July 21st. Like in 2007, he fought a shitload of times, dude. Rumble in a Rahway again, Daniel Carbonell, that's in September. New York Fight Club, you fought in an illegal event with Will Martinez, of which a really big rivalry started between the two of you.
Yeah, yeah, that was that was a crazy time because I remember getting to that fight and I didn't know who I was fighting. Yeah, like people that you don't really know. Like you just show I was like, oh, I was showing up. Hopefully the guy shows up too. And if not, maybe they'll find somebody else. And I remember everybody was like, "Oh, you're fighting Will Martinez, huh?" And I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy, Will Martinez?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Who is he to fight me?" I mean,
Huh.
I'm gonna go in there and smoke this guy. And then I went in there, and he was tough, man. We went three rounds. I think it might have been 4 rounds. I forget what it was back then, but whatever it was, we pushed each other, and I won the decision. But yeah, I remember just like puking after that fight and just being just so exhausted. He was at that point the toughest fight that I had. Um, yeah, it was a wild fight, and then we ended up fighting again as pros.
Did you guys fight afterward in the locker room?
No, no, no.
Any words or anything like that? I heard it was heated.
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. I
I
know it was a fierce rivalry.
I could be wrong about that, to be honest with you. I don't know. I might have been I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like we always had like and you know what? It was you know what it was? I think it was my coach at the time or my teammate and his crew.
Was it Dave Martucci?
Yeah, I think it might have been like somebody or Anthony Abatelli. Anthony Abatelli was a training partner of mine. That's crazy that you would know that. But
Wait, hold on.
Hold
Joe,
up.
Joe.
That's why he's the MMA detective.
that's crazy. That's
Joe,
so
we're
crazy.
2 for 2.
Because I remember them yelling at each other. Now that you mention it, like during the fight, we watched it back on the video camcorder, and they were yelling like across at each other, like
Yeah.
the Philly guy. He's from Philly, right? I think it
Yeah,
was
the
like
corners almost fought for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it was.
Like
That's
Edward Cardone may have been involved as well at
yeah,
one point or another.
yeah. Yep. That's crazy. Yeah.
Um, Andrew Montanez started helping you out with fights right around this time. That was kind of like your first real manager.
Uh I'd known Montanez he wrestled with me at Nassau Community College.
Okay.
So he was always around. I would always train with him. He was always like he was just always in like the scene. He'd either be at the fight. He was just one guy that was like always around fighting and in some capacity. Had a bunch of fights himself. And no, I don't he never really managed me, but I mean he would
Help
definitely
get you fights. Okay. Yeah.
uh We went to. I don't even think maybe, but I don't think so much. He was working with a bunch of guys, and he kind of like brought me with that crew a little bit. I would train with them, um, and we went up to what was the one that they had in Boston?
The Kip Kohler's event,
No,
Reality Combat.
no, it was a different one.
Oh, mass destruction.
Mass Destruction. It could
That's
have been.
it's Kirk Jennis. Yeah, it's kind of Kip Kohler too. Okay.
It was where the Irish hand grenade fought.
Marcus Davis. Yeah.
Marcus Davis fought this kid he's a stud from Long Island. Like, but he didn't really train. He was like a sick wrestler, but he didn't really train for the fight too much. And they were like, I don't know, they offered him like $1,000 or $2,000 to go up to Boston and fight Marcus Davis. And I think, and this was yeah, I was young at this time too, because it was I think his mom didn't want him fighting, and he told his mom that he was like, I forget where he told his mom that he was going for the weekend. He was like, I'm going somewhere for the weekend. We hopped on a plane. We went up to Boston, and I was kind of just like helping them out as like a training partner. I'd hold pads for them a little bit and everything. And we get there, and everyone was like, "Oh, Marcus Davis," and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go out there and just." He called himself the 1 minute All American. He was like, "I'm gonna go out there, and if I don't beat him he's like, I'm gonna slam him. I'm gonna slam him around for a minute." He was like, "I gotta stop him in a minute." And sure enough, he goes out there and he picks Marcus Davis up over his head and just slams him. And then I think he got choked out not too shortly after that. But for the first like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, everyone was like, oh shit, this kid's
I went nuts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the place was going crazy. It was wild. Yeah.
So Montanez, I used to help kind of organize fights here in the Chicagoland area. I had dealings with him, and he threw your name on more than one occasion. That's kind of where I got that from.
Okay. Yeah, I could see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we met online, if I had to guess. So June 21st, 2008, you open up a Pat Miletech affiliate gym.
Well, I didn't know. No, I didn't open
It
it.
wasn't yours.
No. That was Martucci. That he
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. That it was called Thai Sport up until that point. And I guess at that point he went out to he was a Master Toddy affiliate, Master
Okay.
Toddy,
Thai. Yeah.
the Thai guy in Vegas. So he would go out to Master Toddy, and then once, MMA started really blowing up, he went and he got affiliated with Miletech, which was pretty cool because I went out to Iowa and trained with those guys a bunch. And
How were the sparring sessions?
uh yeah, it was pretty intense. It was pretty intense out there. They didn't it was just you were fighting every day. I remember getting there the first day, and I knew who Josh Neer was. But
The welcoming committee. The welcoming committee.
but they were like, "Oh, you're gonna go with this guy," and he had his headgear. I don't even know if he had headgear on or I had headgear or whatever it was. I didn't really know it was him, and we just beat. I mean, we beat the crap out of each other. I'm pretty, he definitely probably at that point got the upper hand on me at that stage, and uh, I was still an amateur at that point, and he took his shirt off, and he had Neer on the back of his tattoo on his back, and I was like, holy shit, that was Josh Neer. And I
Dude,
was like,
legend.
yeah, it was
Legend,
that
Josh
was
Neer.
nuts. Yeah, and then Jens Pulver. I was in there with Jens Pulver. He choked me out. Freaking, I had some great training out there. That was like, that was a different for me, that was very eye-opening. And to see Robbie Lawler in there, to see Tim Sylvester wasn't there when I was, but just to see the guy, they had I couldn't even remember. Matt Hughes wasn't there when I was there.
Sam Hoger would have been there.
Sam Hogar, there was a ton of guys.
Rory Markham? Was Rory Markham there?
Rory Markham, Rory was there. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
another fucking guy that went hard in sparring, dude.
Yeah. Everybody. I mean, everybody. There's people who are just getting freaking dropped left and right. It was crazy, crazy. That was when BJ Penn was fighting Jens Pulver. It was right around that time because I remember Jens was training for BJ at that time. Yeah.
So in 2008, Victory J wrote for the Ultimate MMA magazine, is what it was called. And his goal was to get the two best amateur fighters in the entire country to fight each other. And through process of elimination, he said Drew Dober and Raging Ale were the guys that he believed were the two top prospects in the entire country. It's weird that you guys were both on the same season of Tough, but you guys were scheduled to fight 2008 of November on Victory FC. Why did that fight never take place? I was going to go to it.
I think it was supposed to happen once or twice, and I think he got injured one time, and I might have had something. I think we both something. It just never happened. It never happened for whatever reason, but yeah, right. How crazy is that? Like, and then we kind of followed each other all the way, and it just never ended up happening. But that would have been crazy. But I remember watching his fights, like preparing, getting ready for him, like just training like crazy for that fight. Like I knew he was a southpaw, and I knew his striking was great. I was like, I wonder how his wrestling is, because I felt like that was going to be a big avenue to victory for me to mix that in there. But I was like super aware of how tough he was standing up, and yeah, I was bummed when it happened. I was like, and then I saw him at the Ultimate Fighter thing, I think, and he like came up to me, and it was like awkward. I was like, I don't know if we like have beef, like are we cool? And he was super cool, and we were like, I was like, he was like, hey, what's up, man? I was like, hey, what's up? And then he was like, yo, I forget how it went, but we were both like, yo, it never like ended up happening, and like, and that was it. But he was super cool, but like at the time it was like, yo, I'm the better freaking.
Oh yeah.
In the world, and he was like, he was the best amateur, and yeah, that was a wild time.
So I've seen Drew fight maybe 15 times on the regional circuit, and when USADA came with the UFC, behind his back, me and everybody else is like, there's no way this guy's not melting that cup.
Yeah,
his body never changed,
yeah,
and he never failed a drug test. That guy is genetically special.
yeah. I mean, for sure. He's he's a stud, that's for sure.
Yeah, we talked about that in his interview. I'm like, dude, I did not think he passed that piss test, like ever. Like no, he's gone.
I actually, maybe I'm just making this up in my head now that you say that, but I kind of was like, oh yeah, I'm fighting this like juice head kid from Nebraska or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. Like he didn't have an ounce of. He looked like a fucking model. Like what? Like what the fuck? Yeah. Your first pro event was Mervin Rodriguez. He was a Renzo Gracie guy out of New Hampshire. Yeah, is this the first time you kind of hooked up with the Renzo guys?
What do you mean, like fought against one of them?
Well, you fought against one, but soon after you find yourself over in the gym occasion. I know you were more of a Longo Serra guy, but
yeah. So right before that fight, I was having trouble finding like sparring partners at the gym that I was at, and George Soteropoulos was he was training at Serra Longo, and I had a mutual friend that I boxed with, and he was like, oh, George is fighting, he's got a fight coming up or whatever. Like, I think you'd be great work for him. Come down to Longo's. So I went down there. And Ray was right off the bat. Like we had a great, like we went to war. We had a tough fight,
Nick was there. The guy that hooked us up. Yeah, he told me about it.
Yeah.
He said it was legendary. They beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah. And then Ray was like, listen, man, whenever you want to come down, you're more than welcome to come down. We'd love to have the energy in the gym, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I think I might have gone down maybe once or twice more just to spar. And I was like, if this is what I want to do, this is where I have to be. My parents at the time were like, I was getting up there. I was like, maybe like I was still living at home. they kicked me out of the house because I was like, they're both teachers, so they're both like, get a good job, benefits. I like dropped out of school and I'm like fighting people in Ohio, like, you know what I mean?
I'm going to Mexico, Mom. I'm going to go fight in an illegal event. Yeah.
I'm going to Mexico with Ed Hsu. You know what I mean? Like,
He's a
what?
great guy, Mom. You should
Yeah,
really
great.
trust him. Yeah,
Yeah.
we should trust this guy, Mom.
My parents met Ed. My parents talked to Ed Hsu a little bit. They knew Ed. They'd go to the fights.
Yeah, they're checking their wallet after they shake his hand. Yeah.
Crazy. So that's when I ended up going to Matt and Ray, and then like my parents, I always like really my parents were always I always really like wanted to impress them and make them proud. And so I brought them down to Ray and Matt, and I was like kind of like, Mom and Dad, look at these guys, like they're doing like there's a Matt
World
Serra.
champions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is I'm in the right place, and that's when they really like kind of got behind me. And not that they always weren't, but they were always looking out for me, but they just didn't think it was, anything like, could like whatever.
The
But
doubt got erased. Yeah. 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 Help ease that. Yeah.
they talked to Ray and Matt, and Ray, they felt very comfortable that, I was in a good spot. And then from there was I just trained my ass off. Ray pushed me. Weidman was young in the gym. Like he was just getting started. We made our pro debut that same night. Weidman, Vellante, not sure if Costa Felipe was on that card.
For Costa Felipe, he had dynamite in his hands. In my opinion, he was kind of like a Robbie Lawler type.
Yeah. No,
he could punch through a cement wall if he wanted.
Probably one of the best technical boxers, I think.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just super tough, scary dude.
Yeah, he was on that card too.
So when you fought Mervin Rodriguez, were you still representing the Miletech affiliate?
No.
You were with Longo?
Yeah. Well, that fight was
February 20, 2009, Ring of Combat 23.
I had probably been with Ray and Matt about a year.
Good stuff.
Leading up to that fight.
How was your dealings with Lou Neglia?
Oh, always good.
Everybody says that, dude. That guy's like his credit score, his social credit score is through the roof, man. People love that guy.
He's still a friend of mine to the day. I live maybe 5 minutes away from him. I see him. We go out to dinner with Lou, Ray. His son is I do some business with. He's opened up a great restaurant, Tony and Luigi's right here in Long Island. Is beautiful.
That's awesome.
Place and great food, all imported Italian food, like from Italy, like everything, like the guy that cooks the pizza, the waiter, they're all from Italy, and it's just like the place is just insane. So yeah, Lou from the beginning always, put on a great show. He was always like super upfront about everything. He put on a good show, and he did well by the fighters. He definitely is he's a fighter at heart, he was a great world champion kickboxer, so he knows what it's like to fight, and he definitely helped a lot of fighters do some really big things.
So your rematch with Will Martinez as a pro took place April 17, 2009. He had Eddie Alvarez in his corner. Like that was legit, dude. You guys got a draw.
Yeah. It was. I had Matt Serra and Ray Longo in my corner. You had Eddie Alvarez, and
dude, that's like East Coast royalty right there, boy.
Crazy fight, man. Crazy fight. He broke his hand on my head in the first round. I think he beat me in the first round.
I think it was a 2-round fight, right?
No. It was a 3-round fight.
How was it a draw?
So he was in on a takedown, and I was posting my hand on the cage, and
Took a point, huh?
He didn't take me down, and the ref never stopped it. And I think I was even posting against like
Corner pad.
the pad too. So I wasn't grabbing it by any means. And in between the second and third round, the ref goes up to I can't think of his name right now. Nick Lembo.
Nick Lembo.
Yeah.
God,
And
he's
Nick
gone
Lembo,
places since then.
what's that?
He's gone places since then, you know?
He's still doing the same. He's still
Phenomenal.
yeah. No, he's done great things in New Jersey.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, he always has been. I feel like he's always been doing great things for martial arts in New Jersey. Yeah,
Big staple for that East Coast.
but he took a point away from me somehow. I don't know.
Huh.
In between the second and third round, and they went up to Ray and Matt in the corner, and they were like, "We took a point away," and it was like, "What? You can't take a point away in between rounds after the fact. Like you got to stop. Like you know what I mean?" It was very weird. And then I won the second and third round, but because of the point, it was a draw. Yeah.
You know, like on this independent grind, some of the it's actually more difficult to fight on the independent grind sometimes than it is on the big show. Because on the big show, people are serious, they don't pull out, you know what's in front of you. Sometimes you pull up to an event and your opponent goes from a wrestler to a striker to a wrestler.
Yeah.
So Ring of Combat 25, you were supposed to fight George Sullivan out of Rhino. He pulls out. Jeff Lentz is rumored to be one of your opponents. And then you wind up with Tim Sylvester out of Maxercise.
Yeah.
It kind of tests your will, dude. It tests your mental fortitude when shit like that
He was
happens.
supposed to be like a BJJ stud, that kid. I didn't I didn't even remember that it was supposed to be all those Sullivan then Lentz. I didn't even maybe I didn't I might not have even like known. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
Ray would just like do the matchups and stuff. And I would just like fight whoever. I was not really too concerned, like, you know. At that time, it was like as an amateur, I just show up and fight whoever. I didn't even like look anybody up. I didn't even, you know what I mean? So that was yeah, I didn't even that's pretty wild because I ended up becoming pretty good friends with Jeff Lentz. He was at the Ultimate Fighter tryouts when I was there, and then we both made it to the second round where they flew us out to Vegas, and I hung out with him and Andy Main a lot.
Yeah.
And then
Another old school.
on that show, I got hurt right before the show, so I couldn't be on that one. So I was on like another season, but yeah, I made it onto that season. I was supposed to be on that season of the Ultimate Fighter, with Andy and Jeff. Yeah, I became pretty good friends. But that fight was yeah, I was nervous. I was like, I don't really want to go to the ground with this guy. I don't know. It was like mystical jujitsu. Everyone said he had, and I was like, oh. And then I knocked him out quick. I was like, thank you, God. It was, yeah.
It's a mystical stand-up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely hit him with some big shots early.
So after that, you fight Josh Key, but then you take 2 years off before you fight George Migioli.
Yeah.
Migioli. Yeah, Migioli.
Yeah.
What was the reason for the time off? Did you get serious with school or?
I broke my hand. After that fight. I wonder why it was 2 years. Maybe I could have broken my hand twice even. I don't know. I think it was just hand problems. I broke my hand a couple times. I know in the Joshua Keys fight, I did break my hand.
Like when you look at the progression of a fighter, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but there's certain people that make it to the UFC that have not physically been punched before they get their contract. So like the path that you took is so much different than the path of like a lot of these. I shouldn't say a lot, that some of these guys somehow kind of, cheat the system to get there by loading up a bullshit record. But Gabriel was a black belt from Brazil representing Alliance. He moves to the US in 2008 and is fucking legit.
Yeah, that guy was good. That Gabriel was freaking tough, man. And we didn't know how good he was. We were like, looking at his record on Share Dog, he was like 3-4. Then we looked on MMA fighting, he was like 4-0.
That's jungle fight. It's it's all those crazy Brazilian fights like in the jungle. Like it's nuts. They're not easy.
Yeah, we definitely did not know what was how good he was. I had a feeling he was going to be pretty good, but like he was that was an absolute war. That was that pushed me to like a different level, different stratosphere. I think I was like, I got beat up the first round.
You got knocked down the first round.
And knocked down like he elbowed me, cut my head. We couldn't even like stand for a part of it. I was slipping because the blood was all over the place. It was nuts. And then he got, I got stronger as the fight went on. Second round, third round, I beat him up pretty good. It was a close split decision. But yeah, that was crazy. And then we did an immediate rematch.
Let me, Joey, at this time, people load up records, they try to protect their fighters. He wins a split decision from a legit black belt representing like this is a guy that practiced with Jacare on a daily basis, like where he came from. Al never refused a rematch. He did it with Martinez, except when it counts. Like, no, we're not going to rematch as an amateur. We'll rematch as a pro when it counts. Like that type. Like you got some balls on you, dude.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that.
You didn't, dude. You didn't. People today would never do that.
Yeah, I mean that's the difference. I think I in my head I had to do that. It was like I would, it was like he thought he won that fight. So I was like, then we have to do a rematch. You know what I mean? And I was petrified. I was like, I was not that I was petrified of losing. I was petrified of not winning. I was petrified that we went back and then we were like, oh shit, this guy's freaking that guy was better than we had thought, or like his record online shows, and we kind of like went deeper into like searching online. We like,
dude, a novice would go, oh yeah, this guy ain't shit. Then you look at his record, like, oh no.
Yeah, we found he fought Rafael dos Anjos like a couple months or a year before I fought him. I was like, oh my god,
a decision.
Yeah,
he went to a decision with a future world champion, legit.
Yeah. And the rematch, I was like, I trained so hard for that fight. I was like, I was like dreading the day, but I was like looking forward to it as well. I was like, I was ready to die. I pushed myself so hard in that first fight that it was, I was like ready to die in that fight. I was so crazy back then, but I ended up throwing a kick and it hit him in the eye, and he like went like this and like wanted me to stop, and I was like, oh, this is my chance. I was like, I gotta go, and I just followed up with a flurry of punches and put him down, and that was it. And I was like the most relief I've ever felt in my life. I was ready to like go to a whole nother world of pain and freaking suffering to get the win. I was ready to do anything, and then for it to come that easy, one strike and then follow, like that was just like nuts.
This hurt him so much. It's 26 seconds, dude. Like this guy, same attitude you are, same type of heart conditioning, comes in and gets smoked in 26 seconds. That hurt him. That hurt him.
Yeah. No, it was I mean, even then there was kind of like a little controversy because he said I poked him in the eye with my foot or whatever, but look, I didn't really yeah, I wasn't really so happy with the way I won. I was more happy that it was like easy. I was like, fuck, that was so like, you know what I mean? I kind of almost wanted it to be a little different, but I didn't really care. I was like, thank God. I was like,
it's over.
Yeah, I gave
Done
it
with
a
this
big
guy.
time. Gave it a
Close the
big time.
chapter.
I won. I was like, that's it. That you know what I mean? It's like very just such a relief because that guy was so tough and yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah, close that chapter.
And
You
solid dude too. I always keep it. He always followed me on Insta, like throughout my whole career. Like after the UFC, he'd always like root for me and
that's
like
cool. That's
super
cool.
solid dude. Yeah, yeah.
If you kind of look at your turnaround, so that's September 9th is your rematch. You take a fight right away at the next event, November 18th, but it's your first time cutting from 170 to 155. Pat Audinwood, future UFC vet, representing Bomb Squad. I believe John Jones was there.
Yeah, that might have been his first time cutting to 155.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I had
You know what? It was his first time. You are correct.
Can't win them all.
Joey, this is where
Yeah.
you get I mean, you gave me props. Now you got to shit on me.
Even the
It was.
detective is flawed.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's even just that was his first time cutting to 155, I think, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was a tough one. I hit him with some good stuff early, then he hit me with like a head kick, and then I took him down, kind of like it was kind of like a rushed shot, and he locked up an arm bar. My arm again was making all kinds of cracks and pops and stuff, and I was like, all right, you know, yeah, it was
It's your first loss, dude.
first loss. Yeah, first loss like in fighting always ever, Um yeah, it was definitely a learning experience. What are you gonna do? It was
It's like that drive home must have been the teeth gritting.
so yeah, I think I found out on the drive home from Atlantic City that the UFC was doing my weight class again in the Ultimate Fighter. And I was like, fuck. I was like, I had made it onto I was supposed to be on the Ultimate Fighter. Maybe that's why I was out for 2 years. Maybe I was gonna be on the Ultimate Fighter that year. And then maybe yeah, actually it was. I think after Josh Keys, I was supposed to be on the Ultimate Fighter. And then I broke my hand again right before I was supposed to go on the show. I had broken it when I fought Keys, and then I was training for the Ultimate Fighter and I broke my hand. And that's when they did my weight class. And then I came back. I fought Migioli twice. And
But
then
you'd interject Miglioli that first time you fought him outside of the UFC. You had you, Eddie Gordon, James Jenkins, and Pete Sell. I don't think there's another card with more tough veterans on it outside of the UFC than that one. Like I don't know, but if I had to guess, it'd be that one. So go ahead. I apologize.
that was a tough crew.
Oh, dude,
and
all teammates.
yeah, me and Jenkins would train together every day, Truck and Drago, and yeah, yeah, it was wild, wild time. But yeah, and then on the ride home from the Audinwood fight, I found out that they were going to do my weight class again. Um, and I was like, fuck, I can't believe I blew this. Like I lost right before they're going to do my weight class again. I was like, that just made it so much worse. Like I lost, and then I found out that they were gonna do my weight class again, and I was like, not only did I lose, but I just blew like the biggest shot that I ever had. Like I shouldn't have fought again. I should have waited for the UFC or whatever. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just text them anyway. So I texted them and I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. I made it on to season 12, but I know you have in my wake, but I got hurt. I was wondering if like I could still like hop in kind of thing. And they were like, yeah, you could, just come out to the second tryout.
You
And
missed the first tryout. Oh, that's good.
yeah, so they bypassed me past the whole first tryout. I made it to the second one. And then when I did the interview and the like the week-long thing, they
Okay,
put
so the interview. There's always like when we ever get guys such as yourself here, there's always like one instance where they're like, when I said this in the interview, I knew I made it. Was there a moment like that?
uh I think Crazy Horse. I don't remember if this was the first time the interview or that time, but at one point, Crazy Horse Bennett
Oh, I love him.
was supposed to be on.
I love that guy.
I loved him too. I loved him too, but he smelled so bad.
I've heard that.
And
I don't believe it, but go ahead.
I went into my interview. I went into my interview and I was like, yo, if I have to spend 13 weeks in a house with the Crazy Horse guy outside, I go, don't put me on the show. I was like, I can't do it. I was like, if anything, make me fight him first. That way, either I'm in or he's in, but I'm not. That guy stinks. And they loved it. They were like,
Smart.
oh,
That's smart.
Oh, you don't like him? Why don't you like him? And they were like, they just kind of like pressed me, and I liked the guy. He just kind of didn't smell good.
But dude, you got an angle because well, we're probably both at it. They got a storyline. You're giving them a storyline before you even walk through the door. Smart.
Yeah.
So, have you ever looked at like your tough? Do you have time or no? Because I got a couple more.
I got time, man. This is crazy. You're like, I'm like digging into like the archives in the back of my brain, like thinking of these like Ed Hsu. I probably would have never thought about him again in my life.
Great guy.
Wild. Great guy.
Great guy.
Incredible guy.
So have you really like looked at your Ultimate Fighter run and kind of like digested exactly what took place there? Joey, he knocked out more number one like contenders than possibly anybody else in like tough history. Like, and I mean knocked out, I mean like eliminated him. Like your first fight is John Tuck. So John Tuck, he's 6-0 out of Guam, but at this point, it's kind of like that focal eye. There's a huge like Hawaii, Guam kind of. It's almost like a team. It's like them versus everybody. And John Tuck was absolutely a huge favorite on the island. He's 6-0. That's your elimination fight. You weren't supposed to win that.
Yeah, that was a tough one. My father was like broke down the whole he like researched everybody that was on the thing, and he knew like everybody, and it was live, so he's watching the first one live, and he's seeing like it's getting towards the end, and it was like the second to last fight left, and he's looking at everybody, and he's like, oh, like he had like in his head like ranked who he wanted me to fight and who he didn't, and he knew there was 4 guys left. It was me, Tuck, and whoever the other 2 were, and he was like, oh shit, he's gonna fight Tuck. And my dad always said he was like that's what I was thinking at that time, that moment. And I kind of knew who everyone was. I didn't really, look too much into it. I knew that like everybody was gonna have to fight anybody anyway. I had like a few like a few mental notes about everybody, but not so much. So when I went in there, it was just kind of like doing my thing. I wasn't really like looking out for anything specific. We couldn't watch any tape beforehand, or like once we knew who we were fighting, they took our phones. They took like,
prison.
It was almost like it was work. Like you're fighting this guy, but he's going to be in the hotel room, like next to you, and you can't look at your phone. You can't read a book. Like you just gotta like sit there.
You doing push-ups? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing the whole time? You go crazy in your head.
Yeah, I was not. I watched the cooking channel. That's how sick. We're cutting weight. I'm watching the cooking channel because it was like they locked us in Palace Station. It was like that was like criminal. That was like jail. They locked us in a hotel room.
Been at Palace Station. It is like jail. I agree with that. I 1000% agree with that.
At least if we were allowed to like leave our rooms, though, we weren't allowed to leave our rooms. Like they had somebody escort us out.
They put food outside your door.
Yeah, put food. They literally, we could order food, and like I remember ordering. I mean, like, can you cook the steak with no salt? I gotta fight. And they're like, oh yeah. I hope they wouldn't have put salt on it because, like with cutting weight and everything, and they'd escort us down. We'd have 2 hours in the training room, and you're training with guys and you don't know who you're fighting. So like, you're like, don't want to really like give up anything.
Show anything. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was just like hitting the bag for a week, and then I'd go to like, we were allowed 2 trainings, and I'd go to the gym and I would just like run and shadow box. So I didn't really like want to train with. I was always with on the Ultimate Fighter. I was pretty reserved.
Reclusive. Yeah.
A lot of the guys on top, they were like, "Ah, you all right? Like, you don't like you have like a family? Do you have like friends? Like, you don't really talk about anybody." And I was like, these kind of guys are kind of like my enemies, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not really gonna, be friends with them too much because I don't know. It was like a little weird. Yeah, but yeah, that tough thing was crazy.
So just so everybody at home can kind of understand, John Tuck, even though he lost the decision, he was immediately given a UFC contract. Like his next fight's in the UFC. So like when they have their kind of board of favorites, my belief, having not talked to anybody, is they were shocked at that result and gave him a contract anyway because he was so well liked by the matchmakers.
Yeah,
it's possible, right? I mean, that's not a big conclusion to jump to.
I'm saying that's right on.
Yeah. So after the picking of the fighters, dude, it's so when they do like the fighter picks, the guys that get picked last, they gotta feel like dog shit. But you got picked first. Like you were like the first guy on Faber's team. What a relief, man. It's like grammar school all over again.
I was so surprised. I was like, I'm looking at all these guys. I'm like, these guys are all freaking crazy. Like
it's because of John Tuck, dude. It was your performance. Like those guys, they're in on those meetings, and they had John Tuck in the finals, and then he gets eliminated. First.
And it was also when I fought Gabriel Migioli the first time. This is like the power of like marketing and like media, and this always sticks in my head now that I'm in real estate. Like how one video can change the power of like your whole life. I fought Migioli, and they had a camera guy there. Back in the day, there was like social media wasn't a thing. Like some guy did a YouTube video about the event, caught that whole thing on camera, interviewed Neglia and Ray Longo after the event. It's like a 5-minute video where they clip together like a little bit of the fight, how crazy the fight was. Then they interview Ray Longo after, and Ray was just like, he was like, that was the craziest fight. Oh man, like he just spoke so highly of the fight. And Urijah went back and looked through, like he researched everybody, and he found that video, and he said that to me. He was like, yeah, and I don't think I was on Cruz's radar much. I don't think he made, the Tuck thing, yes, but that video, Urijah saw that, and then he picked me first because of that, he said, and I was like, that gave me so much confidence. I was like, yo, if Urijah Faber's picking me first, like that's
legend. So John Tuck is 6-0. Joey, his next opponent is Myles Jury, who's 9-0, all first-round finishes out of Power MMA. Like, literally, this is like the other guy that's supposed to be meeting Tuck in the finals. So you got Myles Jury. Never seen a second-round Myles Jury.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the reason I think I won that fight, is because I had been through wars before that. I had the Will Martinez as an amateur. I had then come back and fought him again. I had been on the Ultimate Fighter, got hurt, been booted off of it, and come back and fought Migioli. Then I had the loss, which also kind of like refocused me. And he'd never really lost. He'd never been in a war. And I remember thinking, like, that's why I'm going to win this fight. Like, this guy's never been tested, and he's not going to run over me like he's run over everybody else. So that's how I'm going to get him out.
The issue with this, you had mentioned, this is the first season where they had live fights. Due to the third round taking place, because you guys were split at one, there was like 3 minutes of commercials being aired in between. So it gave you guys like extra time.
Yeah, which helped him out, I felt.
I agree. So that was a $25,000 fight of the season. You win by split. Andy Ogle is your next opponent. He's 7-1.
Yeah, he was a tough. He was a
Tough as fuck. Are you
yeah.
kidding me, dude? Look at you're 15, 22-1 are the combined records of your opponents at this point. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, yeah, crazy.
You know, you get the KO of the season. You fight Vince Pichel, who has one of the longest runs in the UFC. I mean, he only fought once a year, it seemed like, but he's 6-0. Dude, that was. I mean,
Wild.
name a harder route to the finals.
Yeah,
I mean, the fuck.
I think as far as like just that whole season in general,
Lots of talent.
that was probably one of the best.
Yeah.
Like talent wise, like that was just crazy. The amount of like, everybody was everybody, you know, everybody was 7-0, 8-1. There was nobody that was like on there just to, you know, be a character. Everybody was a guy that they thought could eventually do something, be a champion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any idea why they didn't take Crazy Horse? Because he would have been the character.
Love that, dude.
I think well
Parole issues.
that's exactly what it was.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they asked, you know, that was a big thing. You couldn't have any criminal record or any outstanding warrants or anything. But yeah, that would have been brutal to have him in the house. That would have been.
You know, like him and Matt Horwich. I think the tough like franchise missed on those two. Horwich would have been great as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So the issue comes June 1st, 2012, Tough 15 finale. Michael Chiesa, whose father just passed away. And when you look at movie scripts, this is the type of stuff that they're made of.
Yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, I was on the losing end of the movie script. They don't write them. They don't write them like me winning. You know what I mean? But yeah, yeah. After a tough, you know, after a tough, what was it? 4 fights before that. Definitely had some. That was the first time my knee that surge that you know the knee problem was in the semifinals, and then pretty banged up going into the final, and I made a couple mistakes and paid for them dearly. You know,
But how do you bounce back? Where do you go mentally from there? I mean, you kind of showed it. Yeah, no, dude, your path to there it's just not normal, and like you said, you know, it certainly benefited you.
yeah,
All right, I got to ask you a couple of questions. Interview in terms of questions in your career has concluded because I always try to kind of keep everything in two categories: before the UFC and after the UFC. And I got a couple of questions for you, dude. You can answer these. You don't have to. Aljamain Sterling. Were you there when Floyd Mayweather tried to snake his girlfriend?
no, I wasn't there for that. I wasn't there.
So, what did you hear about it?
No, I heard that, you know, he was hanging out like on like a I feel like he was like up and Floyd was like down and Floyd was like looking up and they were like they were like looking over into the pool area. And I think Floyd had picked maybe Aljo's now fiance out and was trying to get her to go down. And then they, you know, I don't know. He sent like his guys up to go down, and then Aljo was like, "Yo, this is not happening." You know what I mean? But I think, yeah, I mean, they're solid, the two of them. I mean, that was just like crazy. That Aljo,
Aljo would have won. He would have fought. He definitely would have fought Mayweather.
oh, for sure,
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, I don't think it was even like
Got to that. Okay.
not anywhere near. I think they just shut it down right. You know,
All
Aljo,
right.
they shut it down right
That's
away.
cool. Yeah, it's good. That's good.
But yeah, it's pretty wild, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, he's got a nice piece, dude. That's all that means. You know what I
It's a
mean? Like,
compliment.
he's got a nice, you know, a nice piece on his arm. Douglas Crosby judged your fight against Myles 30-27. All right, so I think we got Ray Longo coming up. Don't tell him. This is one of the questions. Thoughts
Yeah.
on Douglas Crosby?
Oh, Uh, Doug Crosby is amazing. He never ceases to amaze me. He's probably one of the most incompetent people to ever be put in a position of power. Like the ratio of incompetence to power is so crazy that he is the champion. He is the
Adelaide Bird of MMA.
Yes. Yes.
so I would say I don't really know too much about Adelaide Bird.
Oh my God.
I don't see her. I mean I know, like, I don't know more than her judging scorecards, but he's like a manipulative. He's like he's like it's like psychotic. It's hard to, I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. Like, it's one thing to be, he's kind of smart in some ways, just smart enough to like get himself in a tremendous amount of trouble, and like it's like I'm having trouble trying to describe it, but he's like a sick fuck. You know, he's like, it's one thing with the scorecards and stuff, but he's like sick. He like probably goes back into like his room, and he's like looking at himself in the mirror, putting lipstick on. What was that movie? Madison? Like,
Silence of the Lamb. Or...
yeah, he's doing some weird shit, that guy.
The lotion in the basket. Yeah.
He's like, he's like a psychotic. He was at the gym one time. Like, I don't know. I think like before he had he came down, he was doing some stupid like acting thing, and he was like showing us how to like take punches, and if I mean, I don't even know what he was doing there, but he brought like this cat down, and he was like petting this cat, and he looked like Dr. Evil, like a world, like one of those, like, you know, like a dictator fucking lunatic guys. He's
like
sick.
a Bond villain.
Yeah, he's like a villain, you know what I mean? He's got crazy in his eyes, and like,
Did you ever turn down a movie role from him?
uh I don't think he ever even really offered me a movie role. I think yeah, it was, I wouldn't I guess, if you want to call it that. I don't even, yeah, it's, isn't that weird though? Like, he's offering fighters movie roles, and then he's judging their fights. Like, that's,
We got a clip on our channel about that. Like, it kind of a little
yeah.
weird, you know?
How does he get? I don't even understand how he's qualified to judge.
Well, are you an agent or are you an impartial judge? Here's the rumor I heard at this time, and we're talking about the Masvidal fight. The rumor I heard was he offered you a movie role. I mean, dude, you're real Long Island. Like, there's no faking you, Pete Sell, that whole crew. Like, you guys, who you are, you represent the neighborhood. So I heard you two just didn't gel. He offered you a movie role. You kind of snubbed him. He's judging one of your fights, and give 30-27 the other way.
Yeah, it's a little more than that. I think it goes deeper than that. It wasn't just that. I think the movie role was, I think he knew not to offer me a movie role just by who I was like associated with, and he did that to kind of like pry at somebody. It goes way deeper, but
we're gonna get into that with Longo. Longo's coming on. Don't give him any warnings.
Yeah.
We got some good shit for Longo.
He's yeah, you can definitely, Ray will break that down way better than I can, for sure.
We're gonna get Ray greased, get him comfortable, get him relaxed, and then we're hitting him with that.
100%. He'll articulate it a lot better than I can too.
Brother, Nick hooked us up. Greatly appreciated that. We don't have like a lot of contacts on that East Coast, and Nick has just been getting us some phenomenal interviews, man. He's been a good dude.
He's the best. This has been crazy, man. You guys are awesome.
We do this every week, dude. Every week, this is what we do. So thanks for coming on.
Great meeting you.
Yeah, you too. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, dude, are you coming out to BKFC? I was told that you're coming out to one of the events.
I'm down to go. Yeah.
Nick was saying he was going to grab you. So I work at BKFC. I know you and Nick are supposed to come to an event sometime soon.
Oh, I'm down. I know I can't go to the one they're having one in Mohegan, I think, next week.
tomorrow.
Is it? Yeah, I can't go tomorrow. But I'm down. I'm down to go to one of those for sure. I wish I was a little younger. I'd get in there.
Yeah, for sure. Rage and Ale, always a pleasure, brother. Thanks. Joey Venti.
Yeah, I fucked up. People fuck up.
What do you mean?
No, on the intro. Look, I'm putting together the intro real quick. I see his first like 9 fights are in New Jersey, and I just thought the guy's from New Jersey. He sounds like he's from New Jersey.
You know, when you look at like that East Coast attitude, like I've spent a lot of time in Ohio, particularly like the Columbus area,
Right.
Cleveland. You would think like you kind of catch up a hint of it there. It starts in Philly and then progressively gets harder, like the attitude,
Right.
the further east you go. It's actually, I think the starting point of that whole attitude is Philly.
No, he was cool, man. I'm glad we got to hang with him.
Yeah. No, for sure. Joe, you've actually been making some appearances as well on different media platforms.
Yes. The California wildfires were so extreme that the news organizations had to interview a retired guy. So I got on TV a couple of times. It was fun.
Yeah, that's good stuff, dude. Do you want to talk about the places that you did them?
The Matt Gates show, I did a couple episodes of that. And then because of that, I got a call from Steve Bannon and was hired to protect his house during the wildfires. So me and a buddy who happens to have like an auxiliary fire engine posted up at his house. And, we were protecting the Trump movement, I guess, the author of the MAGA movement. I was protecting his house in the fires. So luckily it was a success. It didn't burn down.
How did that go over with your friends?
Went over fine with most of my friends. My in-laws are diehard Democrats. They had mixed feelings. They thought it was a terrible idea, and then I told them how much it paid, and then they softened up a bit. and they said, "Take his money."
Yeah, right. Get that OT in too.
Yeah.
All right. So us history guys, I mean, that's what we are. We're a history podcast here. We all stick together. Like all of us try to help one another. One of the people that consistently posts like comments on our Instagram page, his name is Keith Vargo. He actually wrote a book called Kakutogi Boom, Reports from the Glory Years of Combat Sports in Japan, Volume 1. This guy's like super he gets kind of like real inside baseball with what was kind of taking place in Japan, how it got there, what propelled it. I mean, at the time that this guy was writing, the biggest, most popular place in the world where mixed martial arts was taking place was Japan. And he does a phenomenal job documenting it. We're going to put a link in the bio for any of the readers that like to kind of grab some of the books from our podcast. And I highly suggest you support somebody that definitely supports us.
Will do.
Mm-hmm. Like, share, subscribe. Oh, dude, Joey.
Leave a comment. Leave
Okay.
a comment. We need those. Go ahead.
All right. So I know this might be shocking to most people, but technology, rather than me like kind of like learning about it and really diving in, I kind of concentrate on my wife, my family,
Staying married,
definitely, because I try not to get on social media that much. I definitely don't post anything personal on it, but I finally logged into my Spotify creator app. The numbers that we're getting on Spotify are insane.
Really?
They're double what we're doing on YouTube.
Good.
So like we've lost like a large portion of our Apple podcast. But
does that mean people like listening to us, but they don't like looking at us? Is that their way of telling us?
Wow, no, because Spotify, we got a guy that's been uploading our videos.
Oh, okay. All right.
Michael Green. He's in our text chat. Doesn't get too involved with us, but he uploads all of our videos on the Spotify through the creators. And like our numbers over there, they're fucking nuts.
Nice.
Like some of the big shows that you guys listen to for MMA news, I think in certain instances, we're doing those numbers. Not kidding.
Finally, we stuck to it.
We made it, Joey.
We're getting a foothold.
Joey, we made it. I can now, like tomorrow, go buy a used car to get me to and from work.
That's right.
We made it.
Well, we earned it. Dozens of dollars. We're going to have dozens of dollars because of this project.
Dude. So I'm spending about $450 a month just on the podcast.
Okay.
Like, which with editing and posts and stuff like that, it's really not that much money, but that you get zero, I get zero.
Right.
I'm so fundamentally just inept at technology that like those Spotify views, there's no ads in there.
Yeah.
Like our YouTube is just 2 ads in the beginning, an hour and a half of content, 2 ads at the end.
So what you're saying is we need a 19-year-old intern without a girlfriend.
We need an incel.
An incel. I don't want to say that.
No, we do. We need an incel. Like if you're like a heavy set dude that has got problems, dude, I'll take you to Tijuana. I'll take you to Tijuana once quarterly.
Maybe you got a girlfriend, but she's in prison, so she doesn't like really drain your time. That's what we're looking for.
Right. And Joey, you can. We were actually thinking about maybe you doing a seminar, like a virtual seminar with dating women on house arrests.
Yeah.
and like the benefits of which.
Well, yeah, they can't cheat on you, I guess. You got that going for you.
Yeah. Yeah, you can sit out in front of their home, see the traffic coming in and out. That's for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're easier to manage.
They're peeing clean, whatever it is that got them there, as long as they're not leaving the house, in cuffs. They're
clean urine comes in handy at certain times. That's a good point.
That's another thing.
I think that's how we got interviews with the Hammer House.
It's a bartering tool. Yeah. Like, babe, I'm clean. I'll pee in that cup for you. You know what I'm saying? So
goes a
we're
long
just
way.
kind of thinking of different ways to raise money for the show. Like, sharing, subscribing would help outside of the ideas that we come up with.
Good hanging out with you.
You too. Love you, brother. Hey, dude, next time we're in California, could you fucking come to an event?
Yeah, it was on my wife's birthday. Stop throwing events on my wife's birthday.
Come on, bro.
Do you know how expensive divorce is? No,
dude,
I gotta
you
make
surprise
her happy.
You surprise her with tickets to a fight.
Oh God, yes. You know what? She'll think it was sincere. She'll be like, he's just an idiot. He really thought that was going to push my buttons. God love him. He tried.
Yeah. All right, dude. I'll hit you, brother.
All right,
be good.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.